Welcome to Wellnice, a podcast brought to you by a couple of wellness junkies conspiring to curate content.
This exploration is not just wellness, it's just, well, nice.
Oh, hi Lizzie Bland, how are you?
Hi Lucy, Dr. Cole, I'm very well, how are you?
Good. Yeah, even though it's a bit of a rainy day over here in the UK, we are speaking to a sunny guest. Very excited for today.
Oh my God, me too. I'm excited to speak to this lady for a while. Can you
Yes.
introduce her?
So the lovely Amy is the founder of WELLTTH. WELLTTH works in the micro moments of our day, the pauses, transitions, and the in-betweens. Through short, intelligent, beautifully crafted audio tools, it helps reset, regulate, and shift energy in minutes, not hours. Longer sessions are there when time allows, but nothing here asks for perfection or more from an already full day. With the polish of a luxury brand and depth beneath the surface, WELLTTH is wellness that fits seamlessly into life, supporting better energy, sharper focus, and more intentional living without adding another thing to the list. So, hi Amy, how are you?
I'm good, guys. Thank you for having me.
How are your nice levels?
To be honest, I would say they're great at the moment. It's been a really busy start to the year, and yeah, really exciting.
Awesome. So just a little bit background, I guess, of how I found you, Amy. I mean, I must have been following you for a while in your fashion career, and obviously you worked with my sister. And
Okay.
yeah, you can tell that your career is very much influencing the design of the app, because you obviously worked in luxury for, what's it, 20 years now, some of the biggest brands, and you're editorial for Emirates magazine. That's hence why you're in Dubai at the moment, or but why you've been based
Yeah,
there.
I mean, I spent 15 years in e-commerce, and the last seven in back in publishing, which is where I started.
Yeah, amazing. And so, not obvious really, I guess, route that you would then go into creating kind of a wellness app. So just tell us initially then, why it was born.
So really, I mean, for me, editorial wise and luxury wise, as you say, it's been such a long journey. And it's always been a passion of mine. But behind the scenes, I was very much into the wellness space. And the more I was, running the magazines, the more I could see that there was a huge kind of appetite for wellness. And I was personally invested in it. I was personally doing a lot of work behind the scenes in the space. And I could just sense that from speaking to brands that I was working with, like LVMH and Cartier and brands like this, that there was so much support in terms of when dealing with VIP clients. And I had also worked in that space for Net-a-Porter with VIP clients, that, clients don't just want shopping events anymore. They want to have an experience. They want experiential events. They want to feel amazing. And I always put myself in the mind of the customer, and I always think about the customer journey, and I was always obsessed with this. So whether it be a reader in editorial, or whether it be, in e-commerce, for me, the customer journey and what is happening with them is so important. So I always kind of dial everything back to them. And what I realized was, especially now, the biggest luxury is like peace of mind. It's also, having a calm nervous system. I truly believe that that is the key to anti-aging, anti-inflammation. And I think when you're dealing with clients, even if you're a fashion brand, there is nothing more incredible as a VIP client to arrive with a brand at an experience and leave a better version of yourself.
Mm.
And so what I also kind of understood was that for me, I could not find an app that was really speaking to me with lots of different parts of wellness, but also where there was actually depth. I see a lot of people in their 20s building platforms, and, as somebody, I'm 42, and I think it's incredible that people are building these things, but I also think that some of it is very surface level. And I think that people who are, especially people who are driven, I think they want something different. And for me, what I also could see is that everybody's time poor. And if you take all the moments from the different parts of the day and you look at kind of 2 minutes where you're waiting for a call, or 2 minutes where you're in the car in traffic, actually, if you put all of those together, you do have moments where you can be elevating your downtime. It's just that no one was really serving any kind of audios or wellness in these short spaces of time that you could utilize them. I don't particularly want to start a 10-minute audio session knowing that I've only got 2 minutes and then I have to come back to it later. And what I also wanted to do was I wanted people to feel inspired to build on something that they had done. So I knew that, for example, in the morning, if I wasn't doing what I had maybe told myself I was going to do in the morning, and sometimes life gets in the way, I would kind of feel in the evening like, oh, the day is gone. I'm going to write the day off. I haven't done what I needed. And then we all go through this loop of like, I don't have the discipline. I don't have this. And, you know, I think just doing 2 minutes, if you have a platform that gives you small pockets of time where you can achieve something in 2 minutes, whether you're a busy mum or whether you have a big career or you just have an important day ahead, and that's your only 2 minutes of the morning or the day, you can tick it off that you've done something for yourself. But I also know the knock-on effect of doing that 2 minutes means that you feel successful, which means you might do more later in the day. And so what I also found was that nothing was really speaking to me visually in the wellness space, and everything felt very clinical, very young, or just not elevated at all, very kind of bohemian. And for me, I come from like a luxury background. Like I like things to look precise. I'm used to doing shoots. I wanted salon but wellness, and I couldn't find it, so I built it.
Love that. Okay, well, let's get into your first well nice thing. So, quality over proximity. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and why it's important to you to feel well nice?
Yeah, so for me, I mean, great questions. I feel like in terms of when you asked me to sit down and think about these things, it was so hard to narrow it down to five. But quality over proximity for me has been something that I really have focused a lot on in the last few years. And I also think that it's so important what you put in is what you're going to get out. And so I feel like naturally in life, we will always try and spend time with people who, well, for me, I like to spend time with people who inspire me or people who I feel I can learn something from. And for me, that isn't always people who are living where I'm living. So look at us connecting now, we're not in the same place. I would prefer to focus on quality over proximity because for me, I would rather have a Zoom call with someone who I find inspiring and share knowledge and bounce ideas around, or, you know, maybe it's someone who's great in personal development, or maybe it's someone who's great in business, or maybe it's someone who just, you know, just I find creatively inspiring. But for me, I would prefer to do that than just meet someone for a coffee or something like that because they live near to me. So I realized that, you know, a lot of the people who inspire me are coming via podcasts or via content that I consume. And this is why I think what you guys are doing is so incredible, because you're bringing together a group of inspiring people that can really reach far and wide globally. And if we didn't have things like podcasts, we didn't have access to these types of people. So it's because of platforms like what you're doing that we actually can lean into this quality over proximity.
Yeah, that's so nice. And the biggest luxury at the moment in life is time, right? And we don't
Yep,
have heaps of it. So why waste time and energy on people that are not going to fill you up, that are not going to energize you, they're just going to take away. So yeah, and I mean we love podcasts, we always have, and that's why
me
we
too.
wanted to start our own because yeah, we learn so much and we're inspired. So that's really kind to say that. So yeah, thank
And
you.
in proximity, we're not that close. I mean, we
No,
are like an hour, but you know, when you're busy, you like an hour's journey is long enough. So yeah,
exactly.
this is it's a great way to connect with lots of different inspiring people.
Yeah, yeah.
We're moving on to your next thing that makes you feel well nice, which me and Lucy like, which we dip our toes into, is the cold water therapy and fresh air therapy.
Yep.
Talk to us about that and how you get that in Dubai when it's like 40 degrees or
Yeah.
well.
Great question. I think in the times that I've had where I've really not had an easy time, right? Sometimes we lose people in life, or something like that happens that makes us feel not great, or we're going through a transition stage, which we in our kind of minds, no is exactly what needs to happen, but it doesn't make it any easier to move through that stage. I feel like you need a dopamine hit of some kind of elevation. And for me, cold water therapy was something that really worked. Um, I know there's a lot of feedback in terms of whether it's good for women, not good for women, when it's good for women, but I think everyone has to decide for themselves how they feel. And I think being regimented about it and forcing yourself to do it all the time probably isn't the answer. But I know that in times where I have needed to pull myself out of a negative mindset, whether that be a cold shower or a quick dunk in an ice bath, it's been something that's really worked for me. And about a year and a half ago, my mum passed away really suddenly. And the only thing that I was craving, I continued working for the next 6 months without really taking any days off. And I got to the end of it because we had so many different things we needed to do. I got to the end of it and all I could tell you was I just needed fresh air, cold, fresh air. And it was just the most overwhelming, like, craving for it. And I think the body is and the mind is so smart that it will really take you back to nature and it will show you what you need. So if, you know, for you guys, if you're lucky enough to live in somewhere where, okay, it might be raining, but at least you can have that cold, fresh air in the morning. For us in the winter now, the mornings are not cold, but colder. And so for me, it's all about that. But it could be an ice roller on the back of the neck. It could be anything. But that has been something that is kind of like an unlock for me if I, you know, needed like an emergency reset.
Yeah, nice. I actually spoke on a few podcasts ago. Very low fi, but I have this sort of silicone mold in my freezer, and it's just for the face. So, and I just roll it under my eyes and my face. It's not a fancy tool, you
So
know. There's
nice.
lots of different kind of tools out there you could buy. It's just literally ice, and
Yeah,
oh my
amazing.
god, it just calms me down in the morning. Just that cold as my face, just like okay, sort of setting myself up for the day. So there is something,
Yeah.
isn't there? The power of that. The next one I am excited to learn more about so visualization. So obviously, let's talk a bit more about the things on your app, the kind of audios, and a lot of them are visualization, and why you've chosen that and why you, I guess, included it in your app.
Yeah, visualization. I kind of feel like visualization and manifestation and all these things became really mainstream in the last few years and people talking about all of them, lots of buzzwords. Honestly, I can tell you that everything in my life that has happened to me that I have done, I have seen before it's happened.
Right.
And I don't honestly think that when I was much younger, I didn't really realize what I was doing. I think I thought it was like imagination and daydreaming, and to a point it is. But I also I also think you truly need to believe that these things can happen. And if the one thing that I give to everybody is that I really feel like when you feel like the best version of yourself, and wealth is designed to elevate you to the best version of yourself and to try to keep your frequency as high as possible at all times, whether that be leaning into a short 2 minute reframe because you are stuck in traffic and you couldn't be late on that day and you just need to like snap out of it, or whether you are dealing with difficult family members, or whether you need to accept your body, or you want to program your cells to anti-age. It's about keeping your energy at the highest level as possible, because I really truly believe that we get what we are, not what we want. And so for me, it's it's really, if you can visualize where you want to be, all you need to do is work back from that version of yourself and work out what are they doing that maybe I'm not doing, and you have to start to do it. But I really feel like the belief system around knowing that that is possible for you and believing that what seems impossible is possible is half the battle. And, you know, lots of people talk about this, but I believe it's the combination of the belief, the vision, the belief, and taking small steps to act towards that. You can't just sit there and expect it to happen to you, but it can be as small as, if you want to start your own business, reaching out to one person or sending that email to talk about how do I set up my company, because I do believe that energetically you get back what you're putting out there. And, you know, in terms of speaking about universe, and lots of people will say it's woo woo, but I think it's just energy, it's physics,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's what attracted me when I first saw the app go by. You were talking about energy, and I'm quite into that. I really believe energy is
Yeah,
everything.
real,
You can connect
real.
with someone instantly. If there's been a bad day at the office, then the energy in the room is not nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree. And if you're naturally sort of bubblier in yourself, then good things can come to you from that positive mindset. Obviously, it's been proven. There's loads of scientific studies now about positive mindset, um, and yeah, that can be obviously linked to high energy and the frequency. Our whole body's you know surrounded in energy and frequency. So
I
And
like
I
I
was,
like the fact that you said that it's it's not just the woo woo side. It's like you
mm,
have to actually action it, because I think when everyone
yeah,
read The Secret, do you remember The Secret?
yeah,
It was all very much like, oh, well, I'll just carry on about my day and I'll make no changes. But because I've read The
mm,
Secret, I am now gonna, I visualized my future. But I think, yeah, making actions, like, as well as all the energies or whatever,
yeah,
yeah.
I think you have to be held responsible for it.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
because
I think it's
in the sense of like making the steps is towards the belief. And I also think that
mm,
sometimes the belief is deepened and it comes from taking action, right? In
mm,
times where I know, like, leaving what I was doing to start my own company, I could have done this 20 years ago, but I was afraid.
mm,
And I was always working in companies where I was really enjoying what I was doing. I was lucky enough to be trusted to be entrepreneurial inside a company. And even though I was very entrepreneurial, I never really had to take that risk because people were supporting me to do new roles, to push the boundaries. So I was really lucky. But at some point, when you decide to do your own thing, it asks you to take really deep belief that this can happen. And the one thing that I would say in terms of visualization for what wealth was, and this was many years in the making of thinking about it and really honing what I wanted it to be, and then just making a decision that I'm going to do it and doing it, you know, and not stopping even though I'm afraid. I think the
Mm.
difference is you get to a point, and maybe that's the beauty of being 42, is that you get to a point where you say, I'm going to move even though I'm scared.
mm,
And I don't think, there were plenty of ideas that I wanted to do over the years, but none of them were really sat with me for long enough and would not go away, except this, because I felt it was bigger than me. It wasn't me wanting to build something to have a company. I felt that I had had to go through so many things and learn so many tools to make myself feel better, that I genuinely felt like I was then here to put that somewhere for everybody else. And I
mm,
think the mission of it, and that's what it feels like when something is not serving you and you're trying to add value to other people and you're trying to serve others and support others, there's a different energy around it.
mm,
And I kind of not like nothing was going to stop me building this for other people, basically.
yeah. Well, what's really nice about the app is obviously it gives you that cue, because we can all say, "Oh, we're going to manifest, visualize," but you're busy. But there's that short audio file that's just giving you the time and space and the nudge to do that. But what's also nice about the app is that it's not just about that. It's also about there is those micro moments of like reframing your day, so you're setting up with a positive mindset and then winding down. I think it's really nice that you are cueing that visualization, and people don't realize how powerful it can be. I actually do use it quite a lot.
Oh,
I
that
had to
makes me so happy.
yeah, I had to present at an event last week, and so I used the visualization, the frequency.
The
I'd like to
frequencies are
talk a bit
great.
more about the frequencies. Yeah, so
Yeah,
obviously you have audio files that are just sound, and you
yeah.
set them at a certain frequency. But yeah, and the idea is that you visualize to that frequency of what you need to achieve. So for me, it was just presenting well at this event and it all going well. So yeah, tell me a little bit more about the frequency.
So the frequencies are really interesting because going back to having the customer, or whether you want to call it an audience, however you want to phrase it, for me, I come from e-commerce, so I always speak about the customer, but they're our community really. Um, you know, it's really about understanding who are they and what do they need. And there's going to be moments where they need that kind of short reframe pep talk and they want to hear a voice. And one thing that we had a feedback from a couple of different people was saying to me that they like the app, not only because it looks elevated, it looks luxury, but because, someone said to me, I feel that your voice can hold my life. She's a very type A person and she's very driven. And, we didn't know each other before, but we've got to know each other since she's been using the app. She's in America. And it was so interesting. She said, there's a lot of other apps that I've tried, but I felt like whoever was speaking could not handle the level of stress that I was living through. And I hope that people feel that the audios are supportive and can hold you for that minute where they've really got you and kind of pull you back into your power. It's not giving you anything you don't already have, but it's reminding you who you are and what you have inside that we sometimes forget. And we do need kind of this hand on the shoulder of someone saying to us, listen, I know this is hard, but you've got this. And not this kind of victim mentality of, how awful, this is too much. No, like, let's go. And I feel like that was missing. It's almost this mix of like empathy and a bit of tough love, which I probably grew up with. So that's probably why it's in there. But I feel like I need that sometimes. And so in terms of, going back to the frequency question, I recognize that there are moments where you want to have your own thoughts, or you might be busy, or, maybe you've got one AirPod in your ear and you're listening to two kids having their breakfast in the morning. You can't focus on what someone is saying in that moment. But the science behind the frequency means that you can still listen to something. And what will happen is you will automatically listen to it. And when you understand the science behind it, and you also feel yourself feeling different, what will happen is as soon as you start every day, that becomes part of your routine. You put it in. So you can be having the worst time ever, and you can put that AirPod in and know, I know this song. I know that this is giving me something. But you, in that moment, don't always want to hear somebody else's voice. And it's also about allowing you to have your own thoughts, whether you're driving, whether you're on your commute, because sometimes we also need to carve out time for our brain to filter everything that's been coming in. And, what you don't need in those moments is to consume more content, is to learn something else. You need time, but we're all addicted to doing things. So this is really a moment for yourself to filter those things, to have your thoughts, whether you're visualizing, whether you're processing a day at work, or an argument with a partner, or a situation that was hard, to kind of percolate in your brain, because we need that quiet where there's not this chatter in our voice. And what this does is it's also giving you something to listen to, so the kind of like monkey mind doesn't start. It's a different energy. And I mean, the AAA, Align with Abundance, is really popular. And also your most confident self. So we'll be doing a lot more of those because people seem to love them.
Yeah. Well, what's really nice about that is that obviously you play the music, you visualize, what you want to do welling or whatever, and then when, like you say, when you are busy doing something else, it's a trigger. You put that music in and it takes you back and brings that power back up in you, that energy back up in you.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's it. And it's really nice, but for those moments where you don't need someone's voice, and it actually forces you to just listen to your own thoughts, which is where the magic happens, really, when you listen to yourself.
Exactly.
And it's a bit like, it's baby white noise, isn't it? That's why
Yeah.
we have these baby white noise machines, and it's to get them back into get that frequency that just brings them back into their sleep.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's also, we made a conscious decision in the app not to have video for everything, because, with the audios, I want people to, whether you're playing them for yourself, or you might play them in a car, you might play them in the home, maybe you have got kids, maybe you want a calming one. They don't realize what it is, but it does have an effect. And, for me, it's all about integrating these things into your life. And it's like these small elevations that really make a huge difference, in the balance of the dynamic of how you're living and how you're living with others, I think.
Yeah.
Coming on to your next thing that makes you feel well nice, another one that I like, is saying no. And also I want you to tap on if you've been able to say no more now you're more successful, as you've gone through different industries, you know more. Is it easier to say no now? Because in your early 20s, I feel like you have to say yes, or everyone tells you have to say yes.
Just
Yeah,
just on a side note, Lizzie, with 3 young boys, how many times a day do you say no?
it's the only word I know, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to be honest, I don't think I've ever had a problem with that word.
Okay.
But I think that a lot of people do. And you know, it's actually really interesting. I've worked with a lot of people over the years, and there is a common theme that, you know, a lot of them said to me, you taught me to set boundaries. And I'm pretty clear on what I will accept and what I won't. I think that in the past I was probably always better at it in work than I was in personal life. And that is where a lot of my work had to be in personal life. I think people are very good in certain areas of their life, but just because you have boundaries in one area doesn't mean you have them in all of them. Just because you feel worthy in one area doesn't mean you feel worthy in all areas. And I would operate very differently in the past, like say 10 years ago, in business to how I was operating in my personal life. And there was work for me to do in my personal life. And, you know, I don't mind talking about these things, because if you can't speak about them, how are you ever going to help anyone else who's going through those things? You know, so I think one thing that has been always challenging in an industry that's so busy is everybody wants to be, you know, everyone wants a part of you. Everyone, there's lots of events, especially in the Middle East. And, you know, in what I was doing before, lots of people would rush around and they would try to get to an event season 2 or 3 events in an evening. And I kind of made the decision that would try and divide and conquer with my team. And obviously we prioritized brands that were, you know, investing in our brand, brands that we were close to, brands that were super relevant. But, you know, what I said to them was, for me, it goes back to quality over quantity as well as quality over proximity. Like, I would rather invest my time and really spend time with one brand in an evening, because a lot of the times, like, what I could see was that CEOs were flying over from Paris or London. People would come, they would take a picture for 10 minutes and they would leave, and there would be a big empty table. And I know how much work goes into that. So for me, saying no, I don't see it as kind of blocking things. What I actually see saying no as is saying yes to the right things and having real time for people and having actual time of presence and quality of time.
It's it's good for people to hear that as well. That it's
It's
okay to say no.
it's okay to say no, because
Mm.
in the end, if if it's their time for you to say yes, what they get instead of a bit of you is all of you being really present. It's just that you can't be everything to everyone all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just the people pleasing, isn't it? It's just, I think so many people fall into the trap of people pleasing when you don't really get anywhere if you're just constantly in that state.
Yeah, and I think you have to ask yourself, like, what does it mean to me? You know, if the person means a lot to you and you know that they've, you know, I went to an event on Sunday night here. Sunday night for me is like my holy grail of like never going out. I like to be at home with my dog. I don't want to go anywhere. It's like, for me, that's the peace before the week ahead. But this person is very important and they've supported me in my life. It's just one of those times where I say that yes is more important than a no, because that person is more important, because it's reciprocal. But what you'll start to see is that the people who are really there for you and the people who really support you, you'll want to spend time with them, and they also will understand when you say I can't make it, you know, and they also show up for you when they don't feel like it. So I just think I would rather have quality moments of depth with people than very surface level things. But that's because for me that's important in a person. Not everybody wants that, and that's also okay.
You actually have an audio, don't you, on the app about people pleasing?
I do.
Yeah. I think
do.
that's really nice.
It's
Yeah.
very popular.
Consistent, yeah.
Yeah, I can
It's a very
imagine.
popular one. It's a very popular one because I think people feel the pressure. And people, procrastination's really popular.
Mm.
How can I be more consistent and disciplined is very popular. And, some of these things go together. You can be more consistent and disciplined if you say no to the things you don't want to do and yes to yourself,
Mm. Mm.
you know? So some of these things feed each other.
Yeah. And so coming on to your last well nice thing, the investment mindset. I'm
Yeah.
intrigued to hear more.
To be honest, I had to think of a name for this because it was hard to articulate what it was. But I think for me, I never, maybe I grew up in a family where we prioritized buying things, less often and trying to buy things of quality. I think before this kind of quiet luxury, it was really what we were taught to do. It's kind of old fashioned, isn't it? But I think we've gone back to that point. And so for me, it can be a person, it can be a piece of furniture, it can be the food that you're eating. But I think if you talk about an investment mindset, you're talking about what are you doing today and investing your time and energy in that is it really going to pay off long term? So, I'm all for the occasional, you know, burger fries every now and then, but in general, I will eat healthily because for me, with an investment mindset, I'm investing in the future of my health. I'm investing, like we just spoke about, in quality moments with people who mean something to me. So, I might get invited to an incredible event, everybody else is going. But if I have got a friend who's going through something, or I've promised to do, a pitch deck for something, that's more important to me. If I finish those things and I can still go to the event, I'll try to do both. But I won't do the short-term things. And then the trade-off is that you don't have what is going to work long term for you. And so, I would rather, when it comes to things like in the past, like I'd rather save up for a beautiful chair than just buy something that I can have now.
And I guess it's holding yourself kind of accountable to that when you like maybe procrastinating on a decision. If you know that that's your core value of this investment mindset, you can always go back to it to make that decision.
And I think it's also about taking the pressure off. You can sometimes be wrong. So let's say, for example, you're like, okay, for the next 2 months, I'm going to eat super clean because I'm going on holiday in the summer and I want to be, feeling my best self. If you have a Friday where it's been a tough week and you want to treat yourself, that's also fine. But it's about how quickly you bounce back and go back to having that mindset. What happens with people is they fall off the wagon in some way with consistency or how they're behaving. And instead of bouncing right back, they kind of fall off for like 2 weeks at a time. Falling off for one evening really is not, if you say, for example, people say, oh, I'm not going to drink in January. If you decide that you want to have a margarita one evening or a glass of wine, that is not worth then going, okay, well, I've ruined it now, so I may as well have whatever I want for the next 2 weeks of January. Just get back onto it. And so I think that, the beauty of this app and the beauty of this approach is that there is a huge amount of guilt around having the perfect morning routine, doing the 12 steps before, doing your 5 to 9 before your 9 to 5. This is not achievable, guys, all the time. And I also don't think you need to do it to be a great version of yourself. I think you need to do what you can when you can. And I think if you can be 1% better each day, that is better than being perfect for 3 days and then falling off the wagon for like 3 weeks. So for me, this app and this approach is really taking the guilt away from having to be perfect, because to be honest, it just feels like another to do. It's just adding to a to-do list. And the whole point of what was in this app was to really create audios that fit with moments in your life that are wasted so that it's not adding to your to-do list.
Yeah, love that. Yeah, that's why it definitely works for a mum like me, the micro moments, because it doesn't feel like something extra. It just, I can sort of scroll through and find something that's relevant in that moment that I have.
And do you
Um,
feel like you're proud that you've done that for yourself? Because it makes me feel really proud that I don't have kids, right?
mm,
And
mm,
to hear someone who has got a family is finding that useful,
mm, mm.
that really makes me happy, because we try to put ourselves in the mindset of all types of person who would use this. And
Yeah.
I think that, if you do that 2 minutes while they're having breakfast in the morning, you
Mm.
might say, you know what, I did that this morning, so just going to tag on like 5 minute ab workout or another audio or a power down this evening, because
She actually will.
For me, for instance, the morning one, the reframe, the kids, I don't know, all kids, my kids, they wake me up. There's no like going in to wake them up. Like they are my, and my nervous system right away is like, is activated. So if I could just have my earpods on while they're still asking me to go downstairs, which I'm kind of blocking out, you know, that is like, oh, I'm doing something for myself. And then I can get out of bed. I've had that in my ears. I've had that moment of,
yeah,
mindfulness, listening to it. And then I'm ready to go about my day. I'm a Vedic meditator. And, my practice has just completely gone downhill especially since having two kids. I managed to keep it up a lot more having just one child, but two
mhm.
children, it's just so much harder. So I really like that I could still have that moment of mindfulness, set my day up, but I'm not taken away from, being present with them too long
And
in the
it's not
morning.
asking and it's not asking too much of you.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
it's like you said, it's just elevating moments that would just be wasted, or
Yeah.
elevating moments that you've already got. And then we've got longer things in there for when you do have a moment, or we've got hypnosis when you're ready to do some deeper work, or you want to program yourself before you go to sleep, because those are 8 hours where you can really program your mind and body, right, to be doing certain things. And the science behind that is, incredibly strong.
Yeah.
All of the work of like Wayne Dyer, Dr. Joe Dispenza, like all
Yes.
mentors of mine. So I trained to do this so that I could deliver the hypnosis, because I knew that I wanted to be able to do this myself.
Yes, yeah, I love done quite a lot of Joe Dispenza in the past, and
Yes, amazing.
but again, what's really nice about your app is that I'm not having to go to different places and Google and YouTube. He had a course, but it might not be that's not
Yeah.
only what I want to do right now. But your app has that variety of moments that you want to you want to have that morning reframe, but you also you want to manifest before or visualize before bed. So yeah, it's all in one place. I do love it.
Hitting people at different levels where
Mm,
they're at, because I think
yeah.
there's one level, Lucy, you're very into it, you've done this kind of thing for years. I remember you breastfeeding and meditating at the same time. Like it's
How
a real
amazing.
you live and breathe it. And then there's people like me who take a bit of time, and I kind of want to come into it and out of it,
Mm,
and having little accessible, shorter things to listen to is a lot more appealing to me. And
And
I
you're
know that once
probably
you're in that space and once you've listened to a few, then you can develop it again. And it's just like a muscle,
mm,
isn't it?
and also just knowing it's okay if you don't feel like doing it. That doesn't mean you have failed that day. You are listening to your intuition. I think this app and this this community that we've built and we are building is taking the guilt out of all of this perfectionism obsession.
mm,
We cannot be like that every day. It's too much. People have to hold too much, they have to do too much. And I'm saying, guys, this is enough. All of this unrealistic expectation is not it's not normal. Just ask yourself to do what you can each day. And when
mm,
you feel amazing that you've done those things, it will just have a knock on effect that you'll want to do more because you're feeling amazing. But you're not going to do it out of guilt, because
mm,
doing things from energetically because you feel beholden to doing it isn't going to help you. It's going to
mm,
it's going to increase your cortisol, which is mean you're going to hold on to you know weight. You're going to feel more stressed. Nothing's going to work.
mm.
So
Yeah.
I really wanted to build a community, which is why there'll never be ads inside this app ever. This is a safe space for people to come and feel like something is feeding them. And for me, I used to do a hard day at work and then go to an event or two or three, and I would come home and I would sit on the sofa, and I was so lucky because I really enjoyed my job. I was still exhausted. I would be on Pinterest 15 minutes before bed, knowing that I'm not a stupid person and not understanding why I was doing it. And then I had to really, and I was journaling and I was asking myself, why am I doing this? You know, I really started to think about it because I thought there must be other people other than me doing this. And I realized that when I gave everything to everybody else all day, I wanted something to feed me. And what was happening was Pinterest for me was giving me a space where if I had a day where I didn't feel so great about how I looked on my body, I would go into the interior section and I would play around with that. And so there was no guilt around it. I didn't feel bad. I was enjoying myself, visually inspired. If I had a day where I felt great about myself and I'd eaten healthily and I'd worked out, I would go into the kind of fashion part, the uniform part, and look at inspiring images. So what I realized was it was visually inspiring me, it was feeding me, it was giving me an uplift. And that's when I decided there's a cross section here between wellness and a luxury aesthetic that just doesn't exist. So I went back to 20 incredible people who I've known in my business career in luxury, and basically a year ago asked them all for an hour-long interview. And I basically said to them, this is what I want to build because I think it's missing. And I kind of, in a way, I kind of wanted them to say, don't do it. It's a terrible idea. And all of them came back to me and we had these calls and they said, this doesn't exist and I would use it. I think you need to build it. And so I decided to do it.
Wow.
Amazing.
Yeah, well, you should be so proud of yourself. And I'm grateful that you have because, yeah.
Thank you so much.
I've really been enjoying using it.
Where can we find you and where can we download the app?
It's just WELLTTH.com. So it's WELLTTH.com. Yeah, and it's the same on Instagram. And we have incredible mentors. You know, a lot of people haven't kind of always explored in the beginning, and then as you can see them using the audios, and then they start to discover the mentors. So of course we have movement in there, we have somatic release, so energy release, which really works. It's crazy, guys. And you know, because then you don't have this build up day in day out of this negative energy. You tell your body, I'm safe to release this now, and then you release it at the end of the day. And I've done it myself. It's incredible. So we'll do more of that. But the mentors was really a section where I interviewed and was lucky enough to interview so many incredible people over the years. I really wanted to include them, and we will keep adding to this section as kind of like the editorial section. And we asked them all, what piece of advice would you give to someone to live a life of real wealth? So you're really hearing from people who have built incredible companies, they've got life experience, and it's so interesting to hear what they have to say. And then from that, we've got guest series. So there's a new mum one, but there's so many, and we will keep adding to it. So we are very much a community where we want to hear from the people in the community. We're building this really for them. And, you know, it's really interesting to see what people like, but we want to hear what they want more of. So please feel free to reach out anytime.
Oh, amazing. So nice. Thank you so much, Amy. That was nice.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Amy.
Enjoy the rest of your day and speak soon.
Speak soon.
Bye.